just you. Come on in. Welcome to the Scum Bar. Welcome to the Scumbar Podcast, episode 65, where we talk movies, video games, pop culture, books, the deepness of space, and everything in between. I'm your host, Mattbrush, and with me today, a six-eyed co-host, my co-host...
Anth0z. I was trying to picture what a six-eyed creature would sound like.
Why does he have a nasally voice if he has six eyes? He could
because
be a normal
because the
person.
eyes. No, because having that many eyes means there has to be some sort of sacrifice in the facial structure. So I think all the eyes are blocking the
sinuses. The sinuses.
The sinal passages.
Okay. You know what? You're probably right. You got way too into the science for me, so no, you're probably right.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Well, well done, sir.
Thank you.
Anth0z, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
Well, wow. I am well as well.
Great.
Anything
Great.
new going on in your life?
Today's May the 5th. It's Cinco de Mayo, and we ate tacos.
Hey!
They were good.
That's good. I mean, that's more than I can say about myself for Cinco de Mayo. I don't even think I had mayonnaise. I didn't do anything.
I was gonna ask it. I figured you would kind of go that route. I'm wondering, did he have mayonnaise?
But I didn't do anything even remotely close to the holiday. Didn't have any maracas. Didn't have a mariachi band.
Didn't say the number 5.
Didn't say the number 5 once. No, I just worked IT all day. So
you skipped D when you were saying the alphabet. A, B, C, E, F, G.
Ooh, didn't even do it.
No.
So I got to what should I do? I'll have some tequila later. There you go. That'll
Cool.
be my way of celebrating.
We should have done that on the podcast.
Aw, I don't actually even know if I have any in the house, to be honest.
I never have that in the house.
I only like the really expensive tequilas, and so therefore I never buy them.
Like you wait until like a very, very special occasion, which is not Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah,
before you put in the effort to get tequila.
Yeah, exactly. The occasions are so rare that it happens very few times in my life. I just like the expensive ones because then there's no hangover and it actually tastes good going down.
Is that true of like alcohols in general?
Well, I mean, if you drink too much of anything, you're gonna get a hangover for sure. But if you have like the expensive tequila, it doesn't hit you the same way like let's say Jose Cuervo does. You know, if like
or is it because you just like knowing that it's so expensive, you
drink
tend
less?
to not just like well you don't shoot it, right? You just you sip.
Yeah, that's
pinkies
true.
Up, sip.
I've definitely shot expensive tequila though. And, didn't hit me. It didn't hit me the same way either. It was nicer. Just like a nicer alcohol. It tastes better. You feel nicer about it. It's all good ingredients. There's no like chemicals to keep it lasting longer and all that kind of stuff. That's actually normally what hits you for the hangover is all the chemicals that are trying to preserve the alcohol. So that's the stuff that really fuzzies your head the next morning. It makes you feel really disgusting.
You get the fuzzies.
Get those fuzzies. But anyways, well that's good. Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
Anth0z,
we ended up like I mentioned to you earlier. And for those who need ideas for next year's Cinco de Mayo, or for those who haven't had a Cinco de Mayo yet, no, we are definitely the last ones on the planet for this year, based on our time zone. So for next year,
Hawaii's the last people on the planet.
That's true, but I mean they've already started it. Right?
That's true.
So
they're gonna end it too.
They're just gonna destroy Cinco de Mayo. They're gonna finish it. Anyway, yeah. So we ordered these family-style DIY kits, it's nice to have. You don't have to go about picking all the groceries yourself, especially nowadays when it can be a little bit difficult to actually go to a grocery store, especially on like a special day when they all have lineups outside and it takes longer. And anyway, so came home with this gigantic box. And we ordered the pack for just 2 people. But yeah, it came with, there must have been like 10 different containers for sauces and toppings for the taco. And then, yeah, you get 30 of those taco shells, like the soft corn flour tortilla, corn tortilla, small street taco size taco tortilla taco shell thing. Sure. And then and you get to choose your fillings. We get some beans, musical fruit, and some chips and snacks. And yeah, it was a good dinner.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it.
I love tacos.
Happy we did it.
Yeah, that's I'm jealous. I had salad for dinner, so it wasn't as taco-y as yours.
Salad de mayo.
Although I did have a chocolate chip cookie that my fiance had made.
Ooh.
Now this is what it's like when you live with a girl. For anybody else out there who doesn't live with a girl right now, this is what you're in for. As a guy, of course, this is from the narrative of a man. But when your fiance makes cookies, sometimes there's leftovers. And then you put them away in like the leftover container, and then of course you've got this thing where you split them up, right? So there was 4 cookies left, so we had 4 cookies in the container. And so last night she says to me, "Shall we eat those cookies now?" And I do the logical thing and I say, "No, I'll leave them for my lunch tomorrow." And then this morning we're in the kitchen. I look at them. I'm like, you know what? They'd be good for after work. So I was like, nah, I'm not gonna take them for my lunch. I'm gonna leave them for after work. I'll come home and I'll eat those cookies. It was a sensible thing to do, a very adult decision.
Sure. Okay.
When I came home from work, what do I see in the cookie container? I'll ask you, what did I see in the cookie container?
A 5th cookie.
Oh, no, sir. There was 1 cookie left in the cookie container.
Oh, the opposite of a 5th cookie. The opposite of one more than normal. Only one.
For all you Juan cookie for any Cinco de Mayos out there. So what do you do when there's 1 cookie left? That means that someone took 3. So I had to ask my fiance some hard questions today. Turns out she decided that she made the cookies, and so she deserved 3 of the cookies. Actually, that's what I was doing in my head. I was like trying to make the logic of it. I was like, well, she did make the cookies, so I guess she deserved to have those 3. But those were claimed though. Those were claimed cookies. And she took.
Were they though? I mean, was there a Mattbrush flag in them?
No, but there was a verbal agreement the night before.
Okay. Well, all right.
So
verbal agreement in a household should be binding.
Yeah, she knows something's up when she apologized pretty quickly about it. She knew I was mad. I hadn't even said a word about it. I just saw the 1 cookie in the container, and after a couple minutes, she apologized. And then she even said, "I can make more," and I said, "No, it's okay. You made the cookies in the first place." So after dinner today, I ate my little chocolate chip cookie before this podcast. I feel great. It was a good cookie. It was really good. I wish I had 2, but
or 4.
Or 4.
I don't know why that reminds me, and I haven't done this in a long time, but this reminds me of the episode of Friends where Joey doesn't share food. It reminded me when you said, she just said, "I'm sorry." But I was thinking, I'm not even sorry. And then I thought of Joey when he's on that date towards the end of the episode and they order all these buffer foods and she orders her own thing, her own dessert that is meant just for her.
Yeah.
I think, right? And then
it's
she
like
goes to the washroom. Yeah. And comes back and he's eaten all of it and it's like all over his face and probably on a napkin or something. And he's
just laughing.
I'm not even sorry. Yeah. Good old Joey.
That's pretty much my fiance. I guess when I came home, she wasn't even sorry. She said she was, but I doubt
she said it, but it wasn't.
Anth0z, would you like to hear a piratey joke?
Usually.
All right. Well, let me find one for you. What does the pirate? Right. What does the pirate? Sorry, they worded this weirdly. Anyways, what do pirates say to motivate each other during a race?
To motivate during a race. I can't even. Nope. I don't know.
Rum bottle, rum.
What?
They say rum bottle, rum.
Oh boy. I mean, yeah. That's. Yep.
Yep, that's what they say.
Rum bottle. Okay, cool. Rum bottle.
All right, Anth0z, let's move into a segment I like to call Ye Old News. Ye Old News.
Yes, I don't think I do a thing, do I?
I don't think you do. I don't think there is.
No, okay.
Normally you start telling me the news though, because you've got all the news. Although today I've got some, not all, but some.
Well, why don't you start since today you've got some.
Okay, let me start with something I like to call
Ye Olde News.
Ye Olde News segment number 1. No, what is this show called? It's called the new show with Steve Carell in it that Netflix is doing. No, it's
Space Force.
That's exactly it. Yes. Did you see the trailer for Space Force?
I did not. This was actually going to be my news.
Oh, no way.
That's okay. No, I didn't watch the trailer. Did you?
Yes, my fiance and I just watched the trailer. We're big fans of The Office, so I was trying to follow all like the whatever could follow The Office, and this is back, I guess, like a year ago or 2 years ago. I was reading about like the conception of this idea, the Space Force TV show, and I was under the impression it was going to be like The Office. I thought it was going to be filmed like The Office and that kind of style. But watching the trailer, I actually thought this was a movie. This almost looked like a movie now. But my fiance tells me it's still a TV show. It's just that it's kind of like a comedy drama. Well, it's a comedy for sure. It's just that it's filmed differently. So I don't know. It's not filmed like a documentary style like The Office is. So it looks interesting, but it looks very different to The Office.
Okay.
But it's Steve Carell,
anything
he's funny, so.
Right. Well, does he have? I mean, okay. Based on the trailer, could you tell is he kind of like his typical Steve Carell character?
He's a little different. He's playing like an American general, like a soldier, kind of general guy, and so he's got this like kind of like general accent, I guess, but it's not very thick, and he has a lot of like Steve Carell mannerisms in it. He's not full on Michael Scott or anything, but he's just I don't know, he's just a little quirky and out there. But he's also trying to keep it together too, so it's this weird internal struggle that seems to be happening, but that's all I can really tell. There's a lot of character actors in the trailer, so there's like the Sue Sylvester from Glee, and who else did I recognize? Cool. There's a lot of like random actors and actresses like that you just kind of recognize by their face. You're like, oh, that person. And it's got John Malkovich also randomly in it too. So.
Oh right, yeah, I saw that in the thumbnail. Yeah.
So, anyways, it looks like it could be really good, but I don't know. There wasn't enough to know from the trailer. But I'll definitely watch the first episode and see how it is when it comes out, which I don't know when that is.
Actually, wait, no. What came out was a teaser, right? They haven't actually done a trailer.
It was just a trailer. I don't think it was a teaser, but I think it was a full-on trailer.
So then, was it enough to kind of give an overall plot of what the show is supposed to be about?
It's about the president creating the Space Force, which is like the Air Force, which is a real thing. The Space Force is going to be created, and then this is a TV show like making fun of the idea of a Space Force and like what it's kind of like for the people at the White House. Like now suddenly that there's a Space Force, what do they do? So this general is now just kind of thrust the responsibility of creating the Space Force and why they're creating the Space Force, and he has to like go with that idea. So you can just see that he's struggling with this because he doesn't even believe in it himself and the fact that they should have a Space Force, and so he's kind of going along with that and trying to create it. So it's kind of this funny like thing, I guess. He just has the weight of the world on him as he's trying to make this Space Force thing that he already doesn't believe in. So
okay. Well, one thing I thought was funny, so yeah, again, I haven't seen the teaser, but the thumbnail or in the article that I breezed by, there's an image of, I was gonna say of Michael Scott as of Steve Carell like wearing this outfit that looks like it is the moon or something.
Oh, and weird.
The background is the moon. Or it's some sort of like planet, but the thing is his outfit is made to look exactly like what the planet is on the image behind him on like the wallpaper. And so I don't know if it's meant to be like he's like failing at camouflaging or something. And so I thought like, okay, this must be some sort of weird parody kind of thing, but yeah, we'll have to.
I don't know. I don't remember that from the trailer at all, so I'm not sure about the scene, but yeah.
Okay. Well, no, it wasn't a scene. It was kind of just, you know, like when people do like movie posters.
Oh, I see. It was outside of it.
Let's see. I'm sure I can find a really quick image. Here it goes. Let's see. Open image in new tab. Control C. Facebook. Mattbrush. Control V. Enter.
Oh, I see. Yes,
looks... Control C.
Space will never see us coming. Space Force. Got it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I guess you know I didn't even read that little caption. Space will never see us coming. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, again, so from the trailer, it's hard to tell the full plot, but that's what I got from it. The gist of it.
Okay.
Yeah. It looks interesting. Well, I think it's good enough to watch at least the first episode and then take it from there and see if it's good.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I actually finished watching The Office finally with my wife. So
nice.
And I kind of feel like I need to refix myself with some Steve Carell. So this is kind of, it's very timely. That is coming out.
Very good Steve Carell film that I find is like Steve Carell at almost his, maybe his best, I'm not sure, but it's just a film that's so solid, is Stupid Crazy Love. That's a very good film.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Sorry, Crazy Stupid Love, I mean.
Yeah, no, we've seen that several times.
Okay,
and
good.
I agree. That is, like, you see all sorts of Steve Carell quirks.
Yeah.
You see all sorts of the, what would you say? Like, it's, I guess that character itself is very dynamic in the ways that you get a chance to see Steve Carell be like, more like a jerk kind of guy, but also, and I think you also see this a lot in The Office, but you see a lot of charm that seems, it's very genuine, that I find genuine.
That's a good word to describe. It's very genuine for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I agree. Yeah, Crazy Stupid Love, great film, great Steve Carell film for sure. Yeah.
All right. So we just both have news then. So I'll jump into a different one that I got. This one came to me from my fiance because we were out for a walk, and you know, one thing we recently went to the Hunger Games movies, and I was talking about how they're good. Like, I don't get me wrong, in the Hunger Games movies, I'm not saying they're bad. It's just after the second Hunger Games movie, I'm kind of like done with it almost in a weird way. I like the Hunger Games themselves, and spoilers for Hunger Games, but there's not much of the Hunger Games anymore after the second movie. So for me, I was like, well, but I kind of want like a parallel movie that's like still the Hunger Games, but like maybe a few years back, or like just like something where we can still see the Hunger Games, but maybe it's not Katniss or something. It's just different characters. It's like, because the Hunger Games. Yeah, because the Hunger Games is what I like. I like watching the Hunger Games. If they could just make movies on just the Hunger Games, I'd watch that. It'd be fun. So
yeah, definitely.
It turns out that's a thing. So I guess the author is coming out with another book that's a prequel, and it's called Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I think it comes out May 19th, and it's going
a Song of Ice and Fire. I mean, it's something about that. Just
yeah, you're right. It does kind of sound like that.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a prequel. It's about the 10th annual Hunger Games. So the Hunger Games series beforehand was in the 74th annual Hunger Games, and then the 75th annual Hunger Games. So this goes way back to the 10th.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see some of the stuff in there. So the book comes out then. So for anybody who's a book reader out there that wants to get more into the Hunger Games series, new book. So I haven't read the Hunger Games books at all, but I'm thinking about going through them so that I can then get into the prequel and go through that as well.
Nice. Actually, maybe I will also reread, because I read all the Hunger Games books. I didn't watch all the movies. We watched
I've got them on my shelf over there. They're somewhere over there.
I can kind of see it in the blur. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, my wife and I, we watched, I think we just didn't watch the last couple movies.
Right.
And I don't know why. Maybe like the movies just didn't really grip us too much. Yeah, but I would be looking forward to see something more of, I guess, even though it's the 10th, I'm sure there would be some sort of reference to the origin. Like, because I was kind of asking myself, like, why do the 10th? Like, why not do the very first one? I can answer that for you
if you'd like. It's not really a spoiler, but the main character, if you had to guess who the main character would be, do you have a guess?
From, I don't know, President Snow?
Yeah. So I think it might be his dad. I don't know, because I don't know President Snow's first name, but it's
President.
Like, well,
pretty sure.
Oh, is it really?
No.
Oh. You just sounded so genuine about that. Anyways, I don't want to search it up right now, but it's like, let's say Caspian or something. It's just some random name, and it says Snow is their last name. So it's either him when he's really young, or it's like his dad or something. So my fiance thinks it's
when
his
he's
dad.
A little snowflake.
My fiance thinks it's his dad because he's like 19, I think she said, in the book. So yeah, so it's most likely going to be his dad, and then it'll go into whatever story happens there, and then that will then create Snow. So yeah, kind of interesting.
Okay.
I think that's kind of cool. It excites me to see a book series like this come back with a prequel. It makes me think we might see more of this kind of stuff with Harry Potter in the future, which gets me excited as well. So yeah.
The Harry Games.
A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, well, it gets me excited. So we'll see where this goes. But yeah, I like this. More books, please.
Yeah, definitely. I would be into that. I actually, because of the Hunger Games, I sought out. I think I mentioned this before, but Battle Royale, and it was the Japanese book, which I believe inspired events of Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So I know that there was a movie, but I wanted to read the book first. So I finished the book a little while back, and I haven't watched the movie yet. I just haven't had the time to sit down to watch it because I don't want to have to. It like after reading the book, there's so much detail and there's so many characters that you follow, and I feel like if that's the kind of movie you want to actually retain everything or understand exactly or remember what happened, then you need to sit through like a whole thing and not chop it up. Otherwise, you have to recap like, okay, who is it that died, because it did seem like it made a difference in like who's left.
Right.
Whereas I don't know, like Hunger Games, it doesn't really. At least the first movie, I didn't really get that sense that it really. I never really felt like I had to care about all the characters that were there. Only a few really shined.
Showed.
Yes, only a few showed.
It's showed.
So, I mean that could just be my interpretation, but yeah. So I do want to watch Battle Royale, but it would have to be a time where I can watch. I think it's like a 3-hour movie or something, and watch it straight through. And when my wife is busy doing something else, because she would definitely not watch that.
Yeah, I've heard it's kind of gruesome. I've never seen it, but I didn't even realize it was a book. But yeah, I wanted to see the movie, but now I kind of want to read the book. So
do it.
That is all my news. So I don't know what else you got.
Okay, I got one thing to say. So this is the Assassin's Creed Valhalla game.
Oh wow! I just saw a thumbnail for this just before we did the podcast, and I hadn't seen it yet. So
yeah, so that's actually
interesting.
Yeah, the trailer premiered on April 30th, so just last week.
Yeah,
I was never a huge fan of Assassin's Creed games. I think maybe because I just didn't get into the first one, and then afterwards I just had no reason carried over from like playing a previous game to care.
Right.
But watching this trailer, I'm so interested to see how like the gameplay of this one and how it works out. Like I have played a little bit of Assassin's Creed, I think maybe the first one, so I have an idea. If the games have changed over time, then I have no idea. But the trailer for this one seemed really cool. You'll play. Well, I suspect that you'll play as a Viking or Vikings, and the trailer itself is pretty. It's pretty gruesome.
Well,
I mean, it's almost like watching like a Game of Thrones war kind of thing. Anyway, so the release is going to be holiday 2020. So I guess there's no exact date yet.
Usually November for Assassin's Creed games. Ubisoft likes to corner the November area.
Oh, really? That's the thing with Ubisoft?
Yeah, typically.
Oh, okay. That seems like a good idea. Like I guess around the time of Black Friday, although nobody would be getting.
It's usually based on the other games around. Like you've always got September for your Call of Duties and your Battlefields, and if it's not September, it's October. So your first-person shooters hit in those first 2 months. Then November is where the other games try to kind of hit around. So people still have money, but it's like also Christmas holiday buying. But then it's like also still in a good time. So September, October, November, December are always like your 4 months of hitting a bunch of major games, and then January is just dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But December is almost always like RPGs, and November is almost always Ubisoft games like Far Cry's and Assassin's Creed's and stuff. So
I was actually going to say December is was reserved for Harry Potter and Star Wars movies, because it seems like that's when they always came out, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they almost always come out in December as well. You're right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so trailer looks really good. I don't want to say too much about it in case, I don't want to spoil it for people, but since it's still so new. But the trailer looks like it was done really well. The concept looks pretty cool, and I would be interested to play it when it comes out.
So I won't say too much about it either. I'm just skimming through the trailer right now as you're talking, and a couple things I'll just mention. Well, you're right. It looks cool because it is Vikings. So it actually looks a lot like a TV show Vikings, which is kind of interesting. So anybody who's a fan of that, they'll definitely be wanting to get this game. But first thing I'll say is just before you get all excited or anything about the game, just know that it is a CG trailer. So anybody out there who's been burned by CG trailers before, just know that this is not a representation of the game. These are moments they want to make the game feel like when you're playing the game, obviously. That being said, my brother is playing the Assassin's Creed game just before this. Like it's Odyssey. And, he's really into it, so apparently it's good, I guess. I used to play a lot of Assassin's Creed all the way up until Syndicate. That was the last one I played. And for me, the gameplay changed a bit in Syndicate and it got a little bit different. And I saw Odyssey, and it turns out Assassin's Creed's like RPG now. Like you like level up and stuff, and like your weapons have different base stats and all this kind of stuff. And it's like it's weirdly RPG with like attack numbers and all that kind of stuff, like attack damage attributes and stuff. Now I might not be doing it justice. I'm not too sure of the gameplay. It looked heavy RPG now, which is interesting for Assassin's Creed. It never has been that way in the past. So I don't know if this one is going to be going back to the roots of Assassin's Creed, or if it's going to be going ahead with this RPG-like gameplay that the new ones seem to be doing. So something to keep in mind as well too is it might be RPG. I'm not sure.
Okay, but what genre were the previous Assassin's Creed? Assassins. It is Assassin's Creed. Am I saying? There's an apostrophe. There's multiple assassins.
Well, there was a time when the genre was open world because because games weren't all open world at that time. So the first Assassin's Creed was called an open world action adventure game. But now so many games are open world that that's not really a genre anymore. So I would have just called it action, maybe action adventure. Not much more.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, there's not much more to call it. I guess a third-person action adventure kind of game, right?
Okay.
But it wasn't until in Syndicate there's a little bit of like RPG-like elements, nothing too crazy. But yeah, it was just really weird to watch Odyssey and see like leveling up. Or is it the Egyptian one? Whatever the Egyptian one is called. That one, there was full on like your character's now level 14, your character's now level 16. Like there's an experience bar and stuff. And I was like, that is so weird. Like I'm not saying it's bad. I love RPGs. It was just totally a shift in the genre. I was like, that's weird.
So I'm curious now because, like I said, I only played one of them. But for the Assassin's Creed series, do they each game takes place during a different era or something? Yeah. Okay, so the point of it is basically, or I assume then it would be to show that like the assassins, I guess I don't know, like guild or
Creed.
Sure, yeah. Well, is Creed a noun?
It's like a guild. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought Creed was kind of like a way.
Well, it is. Like, it's a way of life. Your creed, your guild. No, I mean, like your guild. Okay. A guild is a group of people. You're right, but yeah, their creed is like their way of living. It's their lifestyle. It's their culture.
Okay, so they're just trying to. I mean, then the premise would then be the creed itself spans multiple eras and generations, and
yeah, the super basic story is that there's always been a shadow assassin group that's in the background that has caused all the major assassins in life as we know it, like JFK for example, or let's say Hitler and stuff. They've all actually been caused by this group, shadow assassin people, that are assassinating these people for good reason that we just don't know about. And you're usually following the descendants of major assassins throughout history that are part of this shadow kind of assassin group. Now there's also like an evil group called the Templars that are kind of also a shadowy assassin group that are versus the assassins. So they're kind of having this secret war that are actually driving all the major wars in real life.
Yeah. Okay, so okay, gotcha.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of books based on the Assassin's Creed series as well. Apparently they're pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's quite a lot going on in the Assassin's Creed stuff.
I like to read.
Yeah. There's a new one I just saw on Audible. I can't remember the name of it, but it's got some good reviews. So
I'm checking my local library right now. Ah, yes, issue 5, Templars.
There you go.
Cool. Yeah. All right, leaving yet another tab open.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That's Assassin's Creed. Cool. Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed. Yes.
It's a very Viking-esque Norse. That's cool. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Valhalla.
All right. Well, is that all the news we got?
That's all the news we got.
That's the news. Let's move into topic number 1.
Nice.
Do you want to go first?
And okay.
You go first.
So all right, thanks. Okay, so just as a precursor, I recently finished watching Clone Wars. The series finale actually came out yesterday, on May the 4th. So the Clone Wars series has been, at least season 7 has been exclusive to Disney Plus, and was airing every Friday since the beginning of its release, except for the series finale, which aired yesterday. So this season was a 12 episode season, kind of split up into 3 different arcs. which
are they all around
I guess
the same time period? Like, is it go in a timeline chronologically, or are the arcs just kind of split up all around?
I guess in a way, I'm not sure if you could tell if the second arc. It probably does. I mean, in a way, I think the second arc could overlap with what happens in the first arc, because the way that the arcs work is that you're following completely different parts of the war, really.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so that's why it's hard for me to say. Maybe I didn't really follow well enough. But the first arc follows the Bad Batch, which are, I won't spoil too much, but the Bad Batch. So they're just variations of the clones that just didn't turn out as like structured as the rest of the clones that we normally see in the movies.
Right.
The second arc follows Ahsoka as she goes down into like the depths of Coruscant and sees what the war is causing to people, like civilians. And then the third arc was actually something that that Dave actually was it. Oh, sorry. Actually, I think a little bit of each arc. Dave Filoni did mention in an interview a few years back, I think after Clone Wars had already been canceled, that the third arc was the Siege of Mandalore, so bringing back Darth Maul into play, and this would then lead into, actually the third arc would specifically overlap with Revenge of the Sith.
Right. Okay.
So anyway, yeah, so I recently watched the series finale, and just as like a side note, this is still not my topic, sorry, but watching that, I just felt there were so many emotions that I was feeling. It was very bittersweet. Bitter, obviously, because, I wish there could be more, but sweet because I'm so happy that I got to be a part of, watching all that, watching it all unfold and witnessing it. So, I also finished reading the Ahsoka book by E.K. Johnston. This will kind of tie into a little part of my topic too. But so E.K. Johnston, her book Ahsoka, it was canon, and now because of the way that this last season of Clone Wars has taken place, that I believe it's not canon anymore. Although I think you could argue why it could still be. So I'm not sure. Okay, sorry, I don't know if it officially is not canon anymore, but it seems to be like it would not be. So we would have to see if there's any word on that and how they would relate. But anyway, so now onto my topic. It's my topic is why I think you should watch Clone Wars.
Oh, I love it. Cool.
And so I'm very, and the thing is, I want to be able to talk about it and promote it while at the same time not spoiling, because I know that you haven't seen it, and I would rather have like another discussion of, after you've seen it, what you think about it, and then discuss that way. But
let me just say, now that it's out, the finale's out, I'm gonna go through the last season. I'm gonna go in a little bit blind into the last season. Or you
mean the last season that just came out?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit blind to that last season because it's been so long since I've seen the other seasons. But I feel like if I go into the last season, it's gonna be so epic that it will also make me go back and rewatch a lot of the good stuff again. So I'm just gonna go for it and then just enjoy it for what it is, and then go back and rewatch the whole thing, I think. So, because if I don't, I feel like I'm gonna lead it up and maybe leave it too long or something weird. So I'm just gonna watch it all. And now that it's all out, I can just watch it all in like one night. So
yeah, that's a good idea. There actually, if you look online, you can see some people have put together sorry, who was it? I don't know if it was Dave Filoni, but I might have mentioned in a previous podcast, but somebody from somebody that works on Clone Wars did mention what episodes you should watch leading up to season 7 if you wanted a recap. Obviously, if you haven't seen any of it, then they would probably recommend just watching the whole thing. But for those who have seen it, then yeah, there are episodes you can watch, a whole bunch that you can skip, because there are some that are much more core to the story that would lead up to season 7.
Right.
But yeah, whatever you feel like, watch what you can. Anyway, so why don't we start off? Why don't you ask me what does a good TV show have? Just one by one.
What does a good TV show have?
Oh no, sorry, not the words. I mean like what?
That's what you wanted.
Well, ask me if this show, if Clone Wars has what a good, like, name a trait of a good TV show,
Okay,
and ask me
okay.
if Clone Wars has
A
it.
good TV show has main characters that have arcs throughout the whole series that come to a good like conclusion at the end. That should hark back to their original arc at the beginning of the show.
Clone Wars has that.
Good.
Ask me another one.
Okay. Okay, good TV shows have good pacing so that it's interesting almost all the time instead of telling you long, boring scenes of stuff that doesn't necessarily drive the plot. Every scene should be driving the plot in some way, shape, or form.
You know, I was bordering on saying not quite, but thinking a little bit more clearly, and just as a preface, that the show, I do feel like there is it's heavily weighted on the relationship between Anakin and his Padawan Ahsoka, and I think because of that, there's always something that each of those characters learn, or that the audience learns because of what they are going through individually, or even when they are together. So I would say that the pacing was done really well, and there is something pretty much always. I mean, every once in a while you might get the odd kind of episode that might be like, oh, I didn't really need to have this, right? Otherwise they wouldn't have recommended just watching these specific episodes,
right,
to as a recap to season 7. But I do find that a very, very good chunk of the show, much more compared to other shows that I've seen, have content that is pushing the story forward and relatable. So yeah.
A good TV show has a villain, or sorry, I should say not a villain, but it should have an antagonist that you understand. So you should know all the motives of the antagonist.
I would say so. Yep. Yeah.
And before that, it should have clearly defined protagonist and antagonist as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, the show starts off very clearly defining that they're in the middle of war already. So you find out
Is it a star war?
It is on a star, which is just another name for a planet of another planet, I guess, right?
All right, yeah. Yep.
Actually, no, that's not true. It's not a planet.
Okay.
I mean, a star is not a planet. A star is a star, and a planet is a planet. But they are clearly defined. Okay, so anyway, a little bit more about why I think that this show is done really well, is specifically because of Dave Filoni, and this is not to knock anybody else that's involved in the show. I mean, Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka, I think she does a really good job conveying like the emotions of Ahsoka throughout the whole series. And actually, I learned recently that because Ahsoka, this was a debut character and a debut female character specifically for a Star Wars show at the time, especially for the animated series, that when she recorded it for about 2 years before the show actually premiered, and I think there was just so much criticism towards the character that she was getting like hate mail and like cyberbullying, and I think she really hated the beginning of the experience. But then as the show went on, people got to really see just how pivotal and important to the core concept of Jedis Ahsoka's character had.
Right.
And yeah, she's absolutely my favorite character of the whole show, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, because the last arc really was mainly about Ahsoka, and the last arc of season 7 was following Ahsoka, and tying into some things that we see later on. But anyway, so back to Dave Filoni. So he was hired by George Lucas, and I can't remember exactly when he was hired, but just looking at Dave Filoni's credits, so not just Star Wars, but he was involved in a whole bunch of Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Clone Wars. He did Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that was a very successful cartoon / like American anime.
Yeah.
I didn't know this until now, but he actually had a part in working King of the Hill for 1997 to 1999.
Nice.
So
genius,
which is pretty cool. Yeah. And then he has credits in Star Wars: The Force Awakens and in Rogue One, and then also The Mandalorian. So he's been heavily focused on The Mandalorian in the meantime. But anyway, I feel like these credits alone are a pretty good testament to just like how well Dave Filoni does in terms of storytelling. And Clone Wars, I kind of feel like it was probably, oh man, it must be one of the best chapters I find of all the Star Wars stories, even if I consider like all the movies. That this one to me felt very, very complete in and of itself. And one thing that I really liked, I was listening to some of a little bit of interviews with Dave Filoni and George Lucas and their creative process when they were together. And obviously George Lucas, having much more of a background in filmmaking, had I think had a lot of influence on Dave Filoni. But Dave, I think one thing that they both agreed on was what they really wanted to do with their art and creativity was to produce something that was not like the rest of the movies. They wanted to produce something that could definitely stand on its own. And sure, if it tied to the other movies, that's great because it is still relevant. It's part of the same universe.
Right.
But ideally, this show was made to just learn about this part of Star Wars, but showing it in its own way, its own charming way. And I think they did a really good job. You still you get a lot of chances to see Jedis like Anakin and Obi-Wan, Yoda, Mace Windu, obviously Ahsoka. One thing that you don't get a lot of in the movies, which you get a whole ton of in Clone Wars, which in the beginning I didn't think much of, but later on I realized just how important it was that you get to learn a lot about the clones. And one of the questions that I can't remember if it was asked to Dave or George, but the question was or had to do with why do you I guess why is it that you put so much effort into clones and having different personalities, even though they're all the same, they're all soldiers, they're kind of just meant to be copies of each other. But the way it was George, the way that he put it was that they're clones but they're humans. So to some point in their lives, like they'll start off in a very similar way, but then as they grow up, they're still going to have differences that give them different drives and reasons to be different, or to show that they are different. And even though they are copies, they all have some sort of personality that is very human-like. Ones that show that they are very loyal, but ones that also show that they're very caring, and they're very respectful of, like, knowing that each other, like, they're all brothers and they're all working towards the same thing. They're all very respectful of each other, but they have everybody who they fight with, they have their backs, and there's no hesitation. There's no reason why they wouldn't. So anyway, so I find that these characters that we get to watch, I mean, we get to see a little bit of the clones when they're younger, and we get to see when they're older, and also much older, and we get to see what happens when they don't turn out the way that they're meant to. So we get a lot of depth in terms of the clones, who, in the movies we just see as kind of like pawns on a chessboard, or at least the way that I would play chess. Like, they're very sacrificial. Right. Like, I can just put them there and just whatever, because I only care about the Jedis. But no, this one makes you really feel for the clones, and it makes you feel for the some of the Jedis that don't really get much screen time in the movies, because there are some others that have an effect on Ahsoka, for example. So sorry, there's so much that I have to say about this, because I think I'm just on this big Star Wars hype train, because
I don't have much to say, so I'm just like curling up with my blanket here and getting ready to listen. So you keep going.
Well, interject or ask whatever questions you want whenever you can. Well, there was one interview that was a little while back, and actually this was just after Star Wars got canceled when Disney bought them over. But Dave Filoni, there was no set word on what was going to happen, obviously, to Clone Wars and to Ahsoka specifically, knowing that it was cut off. I mean, everybody that watched it already knew what was to happen with, like, Anakin and Obi-Wan. So the only factor that was missing was, what happens to Ahsoka. And Dave Filoni, I think, so he obviously got the hint that a lot of people really, really, really cared about this character. and he was saying that he's not usually one to cater to fans, because otherwise he's not being creative, he's not doing his job, he's not producing work that he wants to, which I think is really great of him to have this long or well the career that he's had, and not just giving to fan service. Like he's one, he sounds like he'd be very fun to work with, and he's not a stressful guy. Like he draws on a whiteboard at work, and he'll like draw a bunch of like ideas and concepts, and he doesn't care if you erase it. He's not tied to it. He's just exploring. He likes to explore. He likes to find ways to use his knowledge or whatever he has. He's a guy that likes to doodle, but he doodles with intent, and if something works, it works. Anyway, so yeah, he doesn't cater to fan service, but he was kind of giving a hint during this interview that, you know, he it's funny that the way he put it, like, I'm not saying that, you know, something's going to happen, but maybe there's something that could happen again later in the future with Ahsoka, but, you know, we're not really sure yet. So it's a very big tease, but you know, the fact that he was doing that just because he knows just how important this character is to fans, I think was really cool. And just that idea alone, knowing just how pivotal this one character who was introduced in this series, never been a part of any other Star Wars movie, but has gotten so much fandom that that is making Dave Filoni, you know, really consider more ways to use his character. I think that alone should tell you that this is the show is really worth the watch. Yeah, so I don't know, like I really want to watch the whole show all over again too, just to kind of experience it. And it's one of those shows that like I don't want to have to let go. Right. You know, even though the second arc, I think a lot of people really did not like about season 7, where we follow Ahsoka into the depths of Coruscant, and we're kind of taking a different look at how the war is affecting people. During that time, a lot of fans didn't really like that because we didn't get to see what we had been hoping for this whole time, which was the Siege of Mandalore. But, you know, it really was another opportunity to get a glimpse of what being a Jedi really means, not just in the war as a soldier, but as a duty to everybody that is connected to the Force, to people. So I think it's good that they did get a chance to show that, and it really adds to all the layers of Ahsoka and her character and her purpose as a Jedi for the whole Star Wars universe. So anyway, that's a whole bunch of stuff just thrown at you, but I don't know, anything jump to you, or any questions, or anything that
I saw a thing where somebody, this is what got me excited, but I saw a thing recently where a guy was editing, I guess the end of, no, I guess that doesn't make sense. I guess he was editing Revenge of the Sith, and he was editing the last couple episodes to the Clone Wars, and he was editing them together. Because I guess there was enough of an overlap or something. I'm not too sure. Yeah. But there was enough of an overlap that he was able to edit the scenes together, and he was making like a fan edit of it. I was like, oh, that'd be really interesting to see some of that stuff. So I don't know if there's going to be parallel stuff that happens, but if there is, that's really cool. And I'd love to see those moments, because I am a fan of the movies, and recently going through the prequel movies, I was shocked how much I like the prequels. I think the memes help, and I think Clone Wars, in a really weird way, has helped make the prequel movies a lot better. Because when I watch Obi-Wan and Anakin in the movies, all I can think about is all the moments from Clone Wars of those two. So it makes me feel like there's all this padded out story that should be there that I just wish was in the movies. But obviously, since it's not there, it's still in my head. There's canon in my head somewhere of it, right? So watching Revenge of the Sith specifically, when there's these scenes going out, I'm just thinking of like, oh, like, there was all these adventures they went on just before these scenes, right? Like all these cool things that happened. So it's just, I don't know. It's exciting. I like how they did that. I don't know how they did it, because everything about Clone Wars written on paper sounds really dumb, but it all works really well. Like, so it really does somehow. And I watched, I came into Clone Wars fairly late. It was like 2015, I want to say. And I came into it thinking it was just a kid show. Like so many people, I came into it thinking it was going to be bad, and just like so many people, I came out of it going like, wow, there was actually a really good show out of this. So and that was before we got even to the finale. That was when I thought it was canceled. So
yeah
it was great. Obi-Wan Kenobi was like one of the best characters by far. I think everyone loves him in this show. He's just really good. But Anakin, this Clone Wars like fixes Anakin. I think that's one of the best things about Clone Wars is that Anakin was almost the biggest letdown of the prequel movies, and Clone Wars finds a way to make Anakin make sense somehow. And I'm really excited to see this new season and how it ties in more to Revenge of the Sith, because the Clone Wars, specifically the show, is very tied into the Anakin from Attack of the Clones. But it looks like this last season does really blend that Anakin into the Revenge of the Sith Anakin that we see, because there's such a change in personality between those two movies. And I think the Clone Wars is like one of the things it tries to answer is why there's that change, right? So that'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to see that in the last season. Hopefully they answer that fairly well. I think it's cool to see him. I mean, I think Ahsoka plays a large portion of that too. And I don't know. I'm not speaking from spoiler territory. This is just from my mind. But she's her being like this interesting pull. She's kind of like changing how Anakin thinks about a lot of things with the Force and with the wars and everything like that. And it is well, it is interesting how like she views him too. She would see him as a master, but then she starts to see him as like a free spirit, somebody like walks the beat of his own drum kind of thing. And then he ends up kind of, in a way, he's almost corrupting her too, because she's not really seeing the Jedi the same way that she's supposed to see the Jedis, right? And there's a lot of interesting things out of that. Just very cool. So I wish the movies had more of it, but hopefully, since the fans are kind of speaking by wanting so much Clone Wars, that is going to dictate how the storylines for Star Wars go in the future. And as we know with Mandalorian, it seems like that's where they're going with Star Wars now, and hopefully that pays off.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing just how much we can get out of the Mandalorian in terms of really pushing for learning more about some of these characters that we don't see a lot of in the movies, right? So which and I think I might have mentioned this before, kind of the importance of having these chances to tie movies and TV shows together. And I think my example might have been Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the fact that we're gonna get all those other Marvel TV shows. But it is really it's going to be a good chance to really focus and learn about these characters and why they are important to the universe. I was gonna mention something about Anakin. Actually, well, I definitely agree with you that Clone Wars did Anakin right. And it's just so funny that I think when you watch Anakin with Ahsoka, knowing that is like it's supposed to be Jedi to apprentice or Jedi to Padawan relationship, but you see so many commonalities between the two of them. I think that's why the characters work so well together,
right?
And then also that's probably also why you end up really liking Ahsoka, and that's because Anakin, he does have we know like what Anakin's about. We know what he comes from. We know what he eventually becomes. So we know all about him. And then knowing that there's some other character that can exude some of these characteristics, like some of the qualities that we like, but in the form of somebody who is young and immature and seemingly childish, but at the same way that reflects Anakin, even the way he is at this moment, right? So it's funny that it's so relatable. I remember what I was going to say. So yes, in the last arc of Clone Wars, and this is maybe just to pique your interest a little bit more, there are some parallels. There are some similarities that they have these call outs to some of the recent movies. And I'm just thinking now that the fact that they did that makes me feel like it really adds more weight to the importance of I want to tell you, but I don't want to tell you. Okay, there are two characters specifically. Well, one is Ahsoka. So there's something that she does, which is like, wow, like I had no idea that she was like that. And there's another character who has been in and out of the series, who also has a parallel to something that happens in Rogue One. And I think it's also done really well. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to let you think on that.
Weird.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Intriguing.
just remember that when you watch it. That's all. Yeah.
Okay. Nothing too is just Darth Maul. I mean, I always liked Darth Maul from Phantom Menace, and he was an interesting villain, and I really thought he was going to be the villain for that trilogy. And I think it would have made more sense if Darth Maul was the villain of the trilogy instead of this weird Chancellor in the background kind of villain throughout the prequel trilogy. I understand that he was the Emperor, but it didn't make for a super enticing story. And then you had Count Dooku, and he wasn't all that great of a villain, and I don't know, it just kind of flopped around with his villains, I think, in the prequels. And I think it would have been better if they kept one strong villain, and the best evidence for that is now Clone Wars, because they've brought him back and shown how strong of a villain he can be. He's got a striking appearance, and then you just add a fairly emotional, interesting backstory to him, and suddenly everyone's rooting for him. Like, he's just a cool guy. Now we've seen him do a lot in Clone Wars, and we've seen where you can make mistakes. I think the spider legs and stuff originally with Darth Maul was a little bit weird and like maybe not totally what we were into, but they fix it pretty quick, and then he gets good. He gets really, really good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we see him at that state, and it's like, oh, why do I even want to care about this character?
Exactly.
But then you really feel his passion very significantly change.
Yes.
And then that grabs your attention. You're like, oh wow, like he's really going for it, and he just might, like, I mean, we pretty much know the ending, but even watching, you're thinking like, wow, he could really do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, like in any good story, the darkness is only as good as the light, and vice versa too. So you can only really have a great villain if you've got a great protagonist, and vice versa. So Harry Potter is only as good as Voldemort, and well, Frodo's not really as good as Sauron, but Aragorn, let's say, or Gandalf is only as good as Sauron, to be more politically correct with Lord of the Rings. So you really want to have the strong villain to make your protagonist more interesting as well too. And I just think Clone Wars did a really good job at that. Just they really bolstered up the villain category here, and they give villains really interesting stories. They got Ventress, who's got light and dark. Like, they've got an interesting like pull with her where she wants to be evil, but she's also pulled in an interesting way. And then you've got obviously Anakin, who's light and dark. And you got these like you said earlier with a chessboard, it's very similar to that. You've got all these different characters on the chessboard, and they're all different hierarchies of power, but they're all like, all of them are padded out with backstory and stories to make them interesting. So it's very smart. It's really well done. Very smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just say Dave Filoni needs to do every part of Star Wars from here on out. And then
I wish.
Could you imagine in an alternate world where he made the newer trilogy instead? I think it would have been amazing.
I think so too. Yeah. That actually reminds me. So a last comment about this, but the way that George Lucas explained it to, I think he said this either to Dave or next to Dave, but the way that they approach making the Clone Wars is that they're making it for the big screen. They're not just trying to make an animated show that is something you watch like at home on a TV. No, they're really trying to give you a cinematic experience. And I think looking back at the technology that we had when Clone Wars originally came out, it's definitely changed over time. Like, it's gotten a lot smoother. I feel like the shapes and that movement and everything just looks a lot better now. But yeah, when I was watching this last arc, man, if this was a movie, I would have probably enjoyed that so much more than all the other movies. It was just watching that all together was so well done. The music was so different.
Oh, really?
The music, yes. So that's one of the things I noticed like right away was that the music for each of the episodes, they really add to what is happening in that episode, whether it's very I think for the most cases it's very somber, because we're coming to this. We know that we're coming to the end of this series, but we're also coming to the end of certain relationships.
Right.
And I feel like the music did a very good job of invoking those feelings along with the dialogue. So and the actions that were taking place. So all around, man, they just did a really good job. I can't talk about it enough.
Well, I promise you I will finish it as soon as I can, and when I do, we will talk about it again. We'll do a full spoiler kind of thing on it and go through it all.
Can't wait.
On that note, I want to say that I forfeit my topic for this episode, which is totally fine. For the audience, if they're curious at all, my topic was not very interesting and I was kind of dreading it, so I'm really happy we had something to talk about. So I will talk about it, probably not next week, but probably in a few more weeks from now. I'll eventually get back to the topic, and I'll try to make it more interesting, because I didn't have enough really to say about it. So that's good. So we're going to make this the Clone Wars episode, which I think is really good and timely for right now. And we'll say it was a Star Wars Day kind of event that we wanted to do. So thank you for that.
It was a post May the 4th episode.
And I don't know if you inspired anybody else to watch Clone Wars. I hope you did. But I know that you inspired me to now go and watch the new season. So I'm going to get off my butt and I'm going to do it finally. So
yes. Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
All right. Well, without further ado, Anth0z, I think that's all we got. So, where could the audience find you?
Well, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Anth0z1. That's at Anth0z1.
And if you want to find me, you can find me also at Twitter at Mattbrush Gaming, or you can find me on YouTube at Mattbrush Gaming, where you'll see this podcast in video format. That's the Scumbar Podcast. If you want to see it or hear it actually in podcast format, you can go to any of your favorite podcasting platforms and just type in the Scumbar Podcast on there, and you'll see us there. If you do happen to see us, give us a like, give us a star, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment. Give us a bike.
Show us the force.
Show us the force. Show us the way. And yeah, let us know what you think. Give us a review. Give us 5 stars. Give us all 5 stars and say it was the best thing you've ever seen.
Give us 5 stars wars.
5 stars wars.
Yes.
If you want to write us an essay about this topic or Clone Wars in general, go to the scumbarpodcast at gmail.com and send us an email there. And maybe, just maybe, we'll talk about it on the show.
If you want a petition to have Dave Filoni produce and write the rest of the Star Wars movies that ever come out in life, let us know. We will sign it. I will sign it. I can't speak for
I'll
Matt,
probably sign it. I'll probably sign it too. Okay. Yeah, we'll sign it together. All right, and without further ado, I believe that Anth0z wrote a little theme song for you guys. He's gonna hum it because he unfortunately can't play it right now with the instrument, so he's gonna have to hum or yodel this little song for you guys that he came up with. It's a new theme song that he's really proud of. So take it away, Anth0z.
And repeat.
I like it. That's a very good theme song for now. It kind of reminds me of The Mandalorian in an interesting way.
Oh,
doo-doo.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes into that, it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, all planned.
Yeah, well done. Well done, sir. You're just as good as Dave Filoni.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody, have a good night. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.